That's my group member there. We work with her. We work with her. Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Good morning.
As usual, it's always good to come in the house of the Lord and try to figure out what He has for us in store and what we got to do to make this world a better place.
Amen.
This morning, I'd like everybody to stand for the recital of the Black Christian Nationalist Creed. Oh, just move. I believe
That human society stands under judgment of one God, revealed to all and known by many names. His creative power is visible in the mysteries of the universe, in the revolutionary Holy Spirit, which will not long permit men to endure injustice, nor to wear the shackles of bondage, in the rage of the powerless, when they struggle to be free, and in the violence and conflict, which even now threaten to level the hills and the mountains. I believe that Jesus, the Black Messiah, was a revolutionary leader sent by God to rebuild the Black nation Israel and to liberate Black people from powerlessness and from the oppression, brutality, and exploitation of the white Gentile world. I believe that the revolutionary spirit of God embodied in the Black Messiah is born anew in each generation, and that Black Christian nationalists constitute the living remnant of God's chosen people in this day, and are charged by Him with the responsibility for the liberation of Black people. I believe that both my survival and my salvation depend upon my willingness to reject individualism, and so I commit my life to the liberation struggle of Black people and accept the values, ethics, morals, and program of the Black nation, defined by that struggle and taught by the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church.
Let us extend our hands for a prayer of invocation. Almighty God of the Black nation, we're indeed grateful for the opportunity to wake up this morning full of life and energy. We ask that with this life and energy that you instill in us or pour in us through the messages from our ministers today, what you would have us to do to understand Jesus' mission, and everything He did, we can do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
We ask you that we be open and willing to learn whatever it takes to become better people. We ask these blessings and others in the name of thy Son Jesus, the revolutionary Black Messiah. Amen.
Amen.
Now, we have been learning about Christmas, Advent, what was happening, what was going on in the world, so we kind of have a background story from Founders Kuna. Today, Walumungu is going to enlighten us on the mission and teachings of Jesus and what He actually did while He walked this earth. And without further ado,
Welcome.
All right, good. Okay, I guess I'm always reminded to mention Jesus in terms of the fact that He was a man, a Black man, who discovered His inner divinity and launched a revolution that became a part of an ongoing revolution to liberate Black people, Black nation Israel. I think when we're dealing with the world the way it's shaped up and the way they've confiscated or stolen Jesus, we always have to say that anytime we talk to Black people, because we have a tendency to mix Jesus and God up. You know, we have a tendency to act like Jesus is God. When Jesus was praying and Jesus was, calling out, was He calling out to Himself? He's calling out to God. So the distinction has to be, established and reestablished and promoted and pushed in the black community because we tend to believe that Jesus was God. And that creates a problem for us just theologically, and it creates a problem for us in terms of application, because we tend to believe that Jesus was born of a virgin, and therefore he was the Lord and Savior, and what he did in the world we could never attempt to do, when out of his own mouth he said that you could.
Well,
So
that's
we
right.
have to try to straighten all that out when we're dealing with black people. Otherwise, we always wait.
Well,
We always just sitting up there, with our eyes up in the sky and hoping that Jesus or God or somebody will come and deal with white folks.
my Lord.
That's not what Jesus was trying to do. He wasn't calling on God to deal with white folks. He was doing it. And so we have to try to do that and make that plain every time we talk about Jesus.
Well,
But I say, in order to understand the black Messiah Jesus, we only have to look at what he said and did in the gospel writings. Although the stories are sketchy, we have key situations and statements by Jesus that clearly define what he was about.
well,
Clearly define what he was about.
All right.
Out of his own mouth, according to them, the words in red in the book, in the Bible. Out of his own mouth, he said what he was about, what he was doing, and church after church after church, a whole litany of so-called Christians skipped right over that
Well,
to Paul.
right.
And then so Christianity today isn't really dealt with, it isn't defined by the life and teachings of Jesus, it's more defined by the life and teachings of Paul.
Well,
And so we try to put Jesus back in the equation.
well,
We know that we can use that to better our own lives. So I wanted to try to look at some of the parables of Jesus. And I'd ask you, why would Jesus be speaking in parables? What do you think? I mean, what comes to your mind when we know what the parables are about, we know how they shape up. Why would Jesus use parables? Why would he speak to his people in parables?
So that people outside of his community don't understand exactly what he's saying. He's talking to a specific people,
Yes.
like Ebonics.
All right, that's a bad one. All right, go ahead. What that is?
what that is?
Yeah. But all right, anybody else? Parables? Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, he was being watched by the authorities, so he had to be careful of what he said and how he said things.
And how
So
you
it's
said it.
interpretation.
They were always trying to drop the trap, lay the trap, set him up, and incarcerate him if they could kill him. Go ahead.
To that point, I don't know, it's not a parable, but he had to be on point. The thing about when the Pharisees that approached him with, do you pay tithes to Caesar?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a setup move, because Jesus, either way he was going to lose. If he would have said, no, you don't pay tithes to Caesar, then he could have been arrested on the spot.
Right.
And if he said you do pay tithes to Caesar, basically in our 21st century lens, he's an undertone. Like, you're supposed to be leading, you're supposed to be leading people. So now you're talking about paying tithes to white man. So he flipped it and said, give to Caesar's what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. So he,
So it gives you a look at Jesus. Jesus was not unintelligent in terms of dealing with his people, with an oppressed people, and in terms of dealing with the oppressor.
well,
So he knew where he was. He knew that he was between that that hard rock and the hard place. And so he had to tread lightly. He had to be very sophisticated in his approach, using all his skills to deal with an oppressed people and deal with the oppressor.
right.
It's a hard place to be at when you're in the middle of it all. You got to deal with the oppressor, which is one thing, but you also got to deal with the oppressed.
Well,
The oppressed tend to turn on you quicker than the oppressor.
Oh, yes.
And so you gotta tread lightly. It's a slippery slope. when you're dealing with black folks. Am I right about it?
Oh, yeah, you're right,
When
you're
you're
right,
dealing with
brother.
black folks, it's a slippery slope. So that's another reason we know that this is a black nation Israel. Because they were all, they were so shaky, so questionable in terms of how they perceived what he was saying.
All right.
So, go ahead.
I remember Sandai said one time in one of his sermons, he said, it's difficult, the same thing you said, to be in the middle when you're dealing with the declaration of black inferiority on one end and the acceptance of black inferiority on the other. Yeah, that's a hard
Have
one,
mercy.
it's hard to tread.
It's a rough place to be. And anytime you're gonna do something with black people, you have to understand this. That's key to getting anything done in the black community. With black people, you have to understand what you're dealing with. And the parables, the stories, it tells us that Jesus understood what he was dealing with.
Well.
He understood where he was, the place and time, not only history, but the physical place and the physical condition of his people. So he knew that he had to be careful about how he presented his message.
Well.
So we look at the parable of the tares. This was an interesting story, and Dermot talked about it in the Black Messiah, page 156. So somebody read that one for us, and then we're going to talk about it just a little bit.
Read.
It's on the paper. It's in your handout.
The parables of Jesus are very interesting,
Yeah.
particularly if you remember how you first heard and understood them before. The parable of the tares had to do with a farmer planting his crop. Jesus was a black Messiah trying to bring together a black people. He had all kinds of problems, the same kind of problems we have today. He was trying to get people to understand what is involved when you're trying to build a nation, when you're trying to bring together a group of people who are oppressed, who have all kinds of ways to try to get along with the man.
My Lord. My Lord.
But man,
With the man.
Ways to get along with the man.
Mr. Charlie.
Jesus is coming to an oppressed people who have spent time and energy and years working out deals with the oppressor. You know what I'm saying? Learning how to exist as an oppressor. Learning how to be enslaved. And when you're trying to tell them that their approach to life is not good,
Well.
it's bad, it's not good for them, it's bad for the people, it's bad for everybody, then you got to be careful about how you do that. Because if you tell a man that his whole life is a lie,
Well.
then you're the enemy. You tell a man that he's been living a complete lie, that everything he knows is
Well.
all false,
Well.
that everything he's based his hopes and dreams on is a lie,
Well.
that there is no heaven.
Don't say that now.
Hey, you got problems.
Take away my head.
You gotta be careful how you do it. It's almost like you can't just snatch the Band-Aid off. You gotta ease it off. You know what I'm saying? You can't just snatch it. Otherwise, the reaction becomes the pain. So you gotta take it easy when you're dealing with this slave theology.
Slave.
So Matthew 13, 24 through 28, read that story. And then we're gonna jump into it a little bit because there's 2 or 3 things that I need you to look at when we're talking about this story. So Matthew 13, 24 through 28. An enemy has done this.
My Lord.
Basic gist. Now Jesus is saying this in the book. It's in the Bible. It's in this story. Jesus was clear about what he was dealing with.
Well.
That wasn't no illusion. He wasn't talking about something off in the sky. He wasn't talking about something going to happen after you die. He was talking about you have an enemy
Well.
in your midst. You live in a system that's against you.
Right.
13.
Jesus
24
then
to
told them this story. The kingdom of heaven is like what happened to when a farmer scattered good seed in the field. But while everyone was sleeping, an enemy came and scattered reed seeds in the field and then left. When the plants came up and began to ripen, the farmer's servants could see the weeds. The servants came and asked, "Sir, didn't you scatter good seed in your field? Where did these seeds come from?" An enemy did this, he
Well.
replied. And the servants then asked, do you want us to go out and pull up the weeds? Well,
We can stop there.
Mhm.
You plant good seed, you got good seed, and you put it in the field,
Well,
and the seed is supposed to produce a harvest, a crop, wheat, good wheat,
well,
but after you sow your seed, the good seed in the good field, then an enemy comes behind and sows weeds
well,
in the field, on top or alongside your good seed.
well,
And then the weeds start to grow. And you become aware that you got weeds growing with your good seed.
My Lord.
And what are you going to do then?
well,
The people said, the people came to Jesus and said, sir, did you sow good seed? They're questioning what he has done, or what the farmer has done, or what God has done. Weren't we created out of the very substance of God? So where are all these weeds coming from? Where are all these problems we got coming from?
well,
Didn't you sow good seed, God? Aren't we made out of the same substance as everybody else? But where are all these weeds coming from?
well,
That's the issue. I mean, it's there. Don't we tend to question the seed? Whoever's bringing a good message, where you get this from? Who told you that?
yeah,
Well, why we can't be like this and get along with good white folk? What? Who said? Questioning the message. And then the seed, the weed is there. Jesus says, an enemy has done this.
My Lord.
We created out of the very substance of God, but all these weeds around us. Our community has all kinds of possibilities, but you got poor schools, you got poor jobs, you got poor housing,
Well.
you got drugs aplenty.
Well,
there you go.
An enemy has done this.
that's right.
The facts now.
Don't blame the victim. The seed is good from the source, but an enemy has done this.
All right.
You have an enemy. You have an enemy. Don't forget that when you're dealing with each other, when we got issues one with another, an enemy has done this. Our attitudes and our mentality, our behavior is sometimes orchestrated by the enemy.
Right.
You know, in the church, they want to say the devil. But either way, you got an enemy. Whether the devil made you do it, or it was Sally, or John, or Bob, you got an enemy. You have to remember that when you're dealing with people, when they go off to the left, or
Well,
off to the right, or they just fold over, or they throw it up for no reason. An enemy has done this.
well,
There you go.
When you can't even produce the fruit that God designed you to produce, an enemy has done this.
well,
You have to be mindful of this. We have an enemy.
Right.
And whether the enemy is coming at us from the outside, or the enemy is stopping us from doing what we need to do in the world, an enemy has done this.
Okay.
Facts.
We have to be mindful. And so we have to give each other the breaks that we need.
All right.
We have to give each other the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes we have to remind each other that we are acting on behalf of the enemy. We used to say, what we used to call them, when people were acting niggerized, they started working for the white man. They're like, whose payroll are you on? What white man you working for today? You got that slave culture behavior. You helping white people out.
right.
You helping the enemy out when you acting such a fool.
Well,
We have to remind each other that we do have an enemy.
Oh, yeah.
And then the people said, well, Master, what do we do? Do we pull up the entire crop and get rid of it? And Jesus said, no, we can't do that. We are all we got.
Well,
This is all we got. We are all we got.
well,
We can't just cast each other out. We can't cut each other off at the knees. We can't just say we all should be in prison. The enemy puts us in prison.
Well.
The enemy cuts us off at a young age, stops our life from possibilities. No, Jesus said, okay, we got to let it grow together. We got to nurture the good even in the bad. I mean, we just got to watch it.
Well,
Because we know that we have weeds in us.
well,
We know that the weeds are growing, but we gotta keep trying to grow. We can't set the crop on fire.
there.
We're all we got.
well,
So we gotta help each other grow. And then at the appropriate time, we separate the weed from the wheat.
well,
We get rid of the weeds and keep the wheat.
well,
We get rid of that niggerization and keep the spiritual being of God.
well,
But we got to get rid of the weeds at some point. We can't just keep the weeds. The weeds got to go. But we don't want to throw away the wheat with the weeds. So we get rid of the weeds and we keep
all right, teach, brother.
the Black Christian nationalists. We keep the good spirit. We keep the brother or the sister who's created from the very substance of God, who's discovered their inner divinity, and they can avoid the weeds. But our struggle is to not destroy each other with the weeds.
Well,
An enemy has done this.
that's right.
We got to know this.
That's right.
So we deal with each other accordingly. We try not to write anybody off. You know, you pointed out. Jesus said, when you got a problem with a brother or sister, go get another brother and come and then try to solve the issue.
Well,
And then if you can't solve it, then go get another brother. Try to increase the size of the group that's going to deal with the issue. And then if they won't listen, then we got to treat them like we. Jesus said that. Jesus said, okay, so we won't let go. We got to get rid of weeds, man. Jesus was aware of a common truth that all oppressed people have to remember and apply to their daily lives and their dealings with each other. An enemy has done this.
well, amen.
An enemy has done this. We can't forget that in our daily walk through this black community.
All right.
When we're looking at the decadence and the decay, and we're looking at our people leaning like broke down trees.
My Lord.
We look at the rot and the blight. And the enemy has done this.
That's right.
All right.
God planted good seed. And the enemy sowed weeds in the black community.
That's right.
Drugs are plenty. So
Crime
we don't
everywhere.
produce the appropriate fruit.
Yes.
Amen.
Why is this important that we understand? And the enemy has done this. And I know I done said it all over. Y'all know why it's important. But if you have any comment about it, let's throw it down right quick and then we're gonna end it.
Well, I know, I you know, to your point, I remember when we used to go out raising funds, it was kind of the reverse of that. You know, and sometime when I came up short, I said, I wonder would the group accept that the enemy has done this. But then I realized I've covered up my niggerization and not looking at myself, you know, because sometimes we can hide behind, you know, blame the enemy for everything, you know.
We're gonna blame the enemy when we could have done more.
Right.
When we could have stepped up more. We could have let the light of God shine and produce the appropriate fruit. But no, we say the devil or the enemy messed me up today.
I knew that wasn't gonna work with the group. Yeah.
Work with the group, man. That's just salvation. Now let's look at the words of Jesus. Now, what I'm saying here is that Jesus actually defined what he was trying to deal with. And then in these parables, he was always talking about the greater issues of the community. Us getting along with each other. The fact that we are necessary, we have to work out our relationships with each other in order to even have a good relationship with God.
Amen.
But Jesus defined clearly what he was about.
Well,
And we find ourselves following some teaching now by some mysterious apostle Paul that the whole, everything that the church preaches, if you listen to them,
well,
they're going to quote Paul. They're going to quote Paul. They're going to quote Paul. They very seldom quote Jesus.
Well,
So right there, today, right now, we're going to give Jesus his due. We're going to give what Jesus said about this.
all right,
that,
brother.
And about what he was about.
Amen.
So Luke 4:16 through 19. Somebody, please.
The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, the Lord's favor.
The Lord's favor. The year of the
Yeah.
Lord's favor. Now this is in red in your Bible. If you got that King James version or whatever,
Red.
it's in red. That means that Jesus said it, right? Now let's break it down a little bit, because you know what I'm saying, if you just read right on through it, you might miss something. So let's break it down just a little bit.
okay, look.
In the Jerusalem Bible, it says, the Spirit of the Lord has been given to me, for he has anointed me. The Spirit of the Lord has been given to me,
Well,
for he has anointed me. Now, when we hear the story of Jesus, born of a virgin,
Well,
God made man in the world.
well,
Now, if that was the case, then the Spirit of God was given to him then.
well,
But he's here saying, the Spirit of the Lord has been given
all right.
to me. Now, this came after his baptism. He didn't come down to the Jordan to be baptized by John to join a revolutionary movement.
Well,
No, he didn't come to go jump up on no cross to be killed for your sins.
well,
Because if he was going to do that, he had 30 years
well,
to have done that. Right? I mean, it's hard to put a baby on the cross, but okay, he was a teenager at some point. You sure could have put him up there then. Right? You know how teenagers get a little time, they get a little iffy. That would have been the time to stake his butt to the cross then. But if he's gonna save us all, a lot of y'all want to put some teenagers on the cross. Why wouldn't they stake him up there then? You know, 13, 14, 15, 16. Nail him up on the cross. All right, we all we can handle right now. You better go and save us. We're going to put your butt on the cross. But no, come on. Jesus, that wasn't Jesus what it was about. He said, after his baptism, he became the leader of a revolutionary movement to change the way people were living on earth.
well,
And he said, the Spirit of the Lord has been given to me, for he has anointed me.
well,
What does that mean for us, though? If the Spirit of the Lord was given to Jesus at 30, when he was baptized into a movement that was led by revolutionary John, and you know John was hard.
oh yeah,
John walking around now out there eating locusts, got a loincloth on, cussing people out,
My man.
calling people snakes and brood of vipers. John was hard. Jesus came to take over that movement. You know, Jesus had to have a little heart too.
oh yeah.
there you go.
Because otherwise, how How do you take over a movement from John?
Well,
John living in the desert. He wasn't having none of it.
No sweat.
So but the spirit of the Lord has been given me. Go ahead, Tony. I thought you was raising your hand.
Yeah.
I slowed down just for you.
I mean, you gotta put your all in. If God done brought you good news, you're supposed to be very happy about what you're doing.
Very happy about it.
Very happy.
But for us today, when we say the spirit of the Lord has been given me,
Amen.
that means if he gave it to Jesus,
That's right.
then he can give it to you.
well,
That means you can get the double portion.
right.
You know, of
Amen.
course, we all have inner divinity. We have the spark of God, life, from birth.
Well,
But if we're going to do something in this world, we need a double portion.
Well,
So the Spirit of the Lord has been given me. For he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. Now, what would good news to the poor be?
read it.
Think about this. Think about it. What would good news to the poor be? You gonna be all right when you die? We got a place for you. Golden streets and that's some milk and honey. You think the poor want to hear that? What would the poor want to hear? What would be the good news for the poor?
Food is on the way.
Look at here. We gonna feed some people today. We gonna change this. You gonna have enough to at least go buy some groceries or something.
Well,
The poor don't want to hear nothing about no heaven.
Right.
We talking about eating.
yeah.
We talking about hunger.
well,
Stomach growling hunger. The poor want to know I got a roof over my head, I can feed my babies, I can eat.
well,
Talking about a better day.
The day is already there. Already.
To proclaim liberty to the captives.
Oh, yeah.
What is that? I'm saying Jesus is saying this now.
well,
To proclaim liberty to the captives. What does that mean? What does that say to you? They're an oppressed people. The majority of them are oppressed, exploited by the Romans. And he said, I've come to proclaim liberty to the captives.
Liberation.
Liberation. I'm gonna set you free.
Right.
This is Jesus saying this now. It's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible.
But we skip all over that, right? We jump right over that.
well,
Paul.
We got to get to heaven. Jesus got to die on the cross, and to the blind new sight,
All right.
to set the downtrodden free. He's talking about freedom at least on 2 or 3 different occasions in here, right?
Oh, yeah.
To set the downtrodden free.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're going to change the world. We're going to build a better place for you to live and exist and have your life and raise your children, your families. That means that we got to get this monkey off our back. We got to get rid of this oppressor. Because the oppressor is the problem, right? An enemy has done this. The enemy is the problem. So if you're going to set the downtrodden free, you're setting them free from what? From who?
well,
If you're going to liberate the captives, you're liberating them from who?
The oppressor. The oppressor. The enemy.
Come on,
Yeah.
the enemy has done this. To proclaim the Lord's year of favor. Lord's year of favor. A God who's for the people. And the favorable year for God is when the people are at their best. When the people are free to live and serve God the way they need to serve God, to have the life that God has designed for them to have it and to have it more abundantly.
well,
That's a good year for God.
Oh, yeah.
God hasn't had many good years here lately, has he?
make it plain.
Has he?
Recession year.
You go to a big white church on the corner, they'll make you think that God is having a great year. But when all this oppression is going on, all this hell is being raised, all these people being murdered and incarcerated, you think that's a good year for God?
Oh, no.
No.
Teach, brother.
When the people can live and exercise themselves in service to God. It's a good year.
Preach, brother.
Amen.
Jesus clearly outlined an earthly ministry dealing with real earthly issues that were affecting an oppressed black nation. Now let's talk about what Jesus did after that. 4:18 through 22. Now Jesus got the power. He got the power. What they want to talk about Jesus turning water into wine, Jesus walking on water, Jesus raising the dead. Jesus got the power. Jesus is a bad man.
Well,
What did he do? 4:18, Matthew 4:18 through 22.
As he was walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were making a cast in the lake with their net, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men."
Well,
Yes.
And they left their nets at once and followed him.
Now Jesus had some power, you know that, right?
right.
Jesus had some power because how many times can you walk up to somebody and get them to follow you like that? That was quick. Jesus just said, "Hey, follow me," and they did it.
Well,
So he was wielding some kind of power, but the issue is, even with the power that Jesus had, even with his level of confidence, his vision, Jesus said, ain't no reason for me to be trying to do this by myself. So he started to try to organize a group.
well,
He started to try to get some help.
that's right.
Now, it don't matter how bad you think you are, but in this world, you better be trying to get some help. If you think you're going to do anything in the black community with black people, for black people, by black people, you better get some black people to help you.
Well,
But we'll go and try to get some white folks to help us. That's been our downfall.
oh yeah.
We go get the wrong help.
Uh-huh.
Slave master.
But Jesus is a bad man. Now he starts to try to create a group. What lesson can be learned from the actions of Jesus?
You have to put something about too.
We need some help.
Yeah,
I don't care what you're trying to do. The lesson is get some help. Get some people to help you.
well,
And then there's possibility. 2,000 years later, we're talking about Jesus, right?
oh yeah.
I think if he hadn't got that little group together, I don't think it'd have been like that. But 3 years trying to orchestrate a group to be of help, to do something about his people's problems. Why did he pick 12? What was the 12 about? I know y'all got some theories.
One for the tribes of Israel. Each tribe, right?
Each tribe of Israel. He's trying to rebuild the nation by reestablishing the tribal system, the 12 tribes. So he wasn't, now if you trying to come and die for the sins of man, why you waste all this time?
well,
Trying to build a group and trying to rebuild a nation and letting these people cuss you out and you running back and forth and you in the boat, you out of the boat, you making fish, you making bread, you walking around. Why? Jesus was trying to do something on earth about an earthly problem, a real enemy.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
In that day,
That's
in
right.
that time, for that people, then.
Well, amen. All right.
Get you some help.
Well,
It also shows the power of his conviction and how he was able to stop people from whatever they were doing and have them follow it. Because they were more likely tired and sick of the way of their living and being oppressed. They just looking for somebody to give them leadership or tell them what to do or how to do it.
Right.
So, just.
So you don't have to water down the message.
Right.
You don't have to try to make it pretty. You don't have to try to sweeten it up so that this group can accept it or this group will accept it. You don't have to try to dress it up in flowers. The message is the same to an oppressed people. Talk about some freedom.
Right.
Talk about getting the man off your back.
Right.
Talking about controlling your life.
Well,
That's the message. You ain't gotta sweeten it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure Jesus had some kind of presentation when he approached these people.
Well, I'm sure he did. But,
I'm sure everybody that he approached did not follow him as well.
well, of course.
You know, I'm sure
But that's anything.
yeah, that's part
That's
of the process.
anything. That's what the next parable is about. I'm gonna talk to you about it. Hold on. I got something for you on that. I knew you were gonna say that. So I got a word for you. Go ahead, Tim.
To his point, in the book of Luke, which is right after he went to Matthew, in the book of Luke, it talks about Jesus saw two boats that were out on the sea, and he asked them if they caught anything. So you know this parable as well. And they were saying no. He said, well, you should go cast your nets out. They said, well, we've been trying to fish all night and we didn't catch nothing.
Right.
So he told them to cast it. I mean, he
He convinced them. We convinced them by what he did.
Yeah. Also,
But hold on, Shin. I got this. I got something here. So let me do this. Now, let's go to the parable of the sower. Parable of the sower, Matthew 13, 4 through 9.
Matthew 13,
Somebody read that one.
13.
And then we're gonna settle all this. We're gonna lay the icing on this cake.
While the farmer was scattering the seed, some of it fell along the road and it was eaten by birds. Other seeds fell on thin, rocky ground and quickly started growing because the soil wasn't very deep. Okay, but when let's see, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and dried up because they did not have enough roots. Some other seeds fell where thorn bushes grew up and choked the plants. But a few seeds did fall on good ground where the plants produced 100 or 60 or 30 times as much as were scattered. You have ears to pay attention.
Well, all right.
The parable of the sower. Jesus is dealing with issues. You know, of course, he had a message. You know, of course, he had to convince the people. He had to show his power in places. But the idea was this, is that the message is solid. The mission is solid. The ministry is solid. The parable of the sower simply talks about what you have to do if you're going to do anything in the world. And if you're going to do anything with black people especially, you got to be loaded. I'm talking about armed to the teeth with all the power that God can make available to you.
Well,
Because the seed is good. Out of the divinity of God, we are good. We have infinite possibilities. But an enemy has done something to us. Has thrown us off our game. And so now we come and talking to people about getting our game back. Getting back on task. Getting back in alignment with God. Getting back our power. And so the word that people need to hear is that. And so when we talk about the parable of the sower, he talks about sowing seeds and some falling by the wayside. Birds get the seed and fly off with it. Now, if you're not clear about what you're trying to do, you'll go trying to chase the birds. Give me my seeds back. I said it, I talked about that was mine. Amen. Some of the seeds fall on dry ground, rocky ground, come up and go away. They're talking about people joining the movement. You know what I'm saying? You talk to somebody and then they're gone. You bring them in and then they're gone. They join and come get into fellowship and hear a little something, a little conflict, they're gone. The one hot day,
Well,
they're gone. You know how many hot days we had? Hot day and they're gone.
well,
Right, but some people get it,
well,
Some people,
and they'll produce.
Well,
But the key for the soul, for the revolutionary, for the black Christian nationalists,
tell it.
is to keep sowing seeds.
well,
good seeds.
Because if you chase the birds or let the ones who quit sway you from the mission,
well,
Well,
then you won't reap the reward that is available. The 100-fold, the 60,
Well.
or the 30.
well,
And one thing you have to be reminded of, that some people are capable of producing 100%, producing a 100-fold crop. Some people are capable of producing 60-fold
well,
in terms of their commitment. Some people 30,
well,
but you can't get 100 from the 30.
well,
People have to do what they can.
Well.
But commitment is the key.
Well.
Keep sowing seeds.
well,
We have to keep sowing seeds. We have to keep talking to people about what we're trying to do and what needs to happen in the black community. If we do that, then there's possibilities. Keep sowing seeds.
well,
That's your mission today. Keep sowing the seeds of black Christian nationalism. That is the answer.
Amen.
BCN is still the answer.
wow, brother.
He's the assistant instructor. That's such a powerful lesson.
Oh, man.
Are we not going to see?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm going home. I tried
Yeah, we just got a very profound message
I know this one.
from our brother here. Let's give him a. And we know what to do now, right?
Well, oh, man.
We got to do some work.
You gotta sow some seeds.
All right, let us stand and extend our hands for benediction. Taste the bird. Almighty God of the Black Nation, we can't thank you enough for the message you've given us this morning that would enlighten us and give us fuel to go out and do your will. Let us keep in mind why these things are happening to us and be mindful that we can make a difference. The lessons that Jesus taught to disciples, we can internalize them and do the same. We ask that we touch brothers and sisters wherever they may be so they know that things can be different. And let's give our brothers and sisters a sense of hope during this Christmas season. As we leave here, let's be able to learn to be kind and loving one another, understanding what our problems are can be erased. We ask these blessings and others in the name of the Revolutionary Black Messiah Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Brother James.
Good job, bro.
After